Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the show. Just want to let you know we're short a guy today with my man Tyler. So it's just going to be me and Darnell doing it. So just expect a little shorter show than usual. But, hey, let's get right to it. We're about to get right into, UFC. Last week, we had a big week that was ahead of us. Had two huge fights in, RDA and versus Alvarez and JJ versus Claudia Gadelha, right?
Claudia Gadelha,
yeah. Leading up to the 200 card. So first we'll get into RDA versus Eddie Alvarez. What were your thoughts on that fight, Darno?
Shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, Eddie just got on him and got after him quickly. I mean, 1 round fight. You got a KO, TKO, however you want to call it. I mean, Eddie is a tough son of a gun, but RDA seemed like he had turned that corner where he was looking like that pretty much unstoppable guy. But a tough fighter came in there, went to work on him, got out of there quick. Doesn't have much of a scar on him, so he can probably get back in there quick. I like that he called for an easy fight like Conor or Nate.
Yeah, that was good too. But yeah, I was just shocking to hear that. I for some reason I just forgot that it was on and everything, but it was Fight Pass anyway, so I wasn't gonna catch it. But found out he lost, just saw how he lost, and it was just like, wow. I mean, Alvarez just went completely just beast mode on him, man, just with all those punches and knees and stuff that he was throwing. So great condition on his part, but I was just shocked with RDA because I saw how he handled Cerrone in his previous fight. I was like, wow. I was like, this guy's a beast. And then Eddie Alvarez just comes in there and just gets the belt. It was very just shocking to see, but just overall, just great performance by Eddie Alvarez for sure.
But yeah, and I mean, I think it's just another note that, I mean, yes, UFC is basically the premier league or organization in MMA, but there's great fighters outside of it, and Eddie Alvarez is proof of that. This is only his second or third fight in the UFC after leaving Bellator, but I mean, this is proof like elite fighters do fight outside of the UFC, and it's shown right here by how quick he came up on the belt.
Yeah, for sure. Now you just mentioned it with McGregor Diaz. How likely do you think that will happen? Of them two meeting up after McGregor versus Diaz fight, one of them meeting up with Alvarez?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's out of the question. I think I guess
it would have to be prolonged since McGregor he would have to fight Jose Aldo right after. But
yeah. Well, I mean, it's one of those fights that would probably be intriguing to him, especially if he were to hold on to the belt after fighting Jose. Like, champion versus champion, how it would have been if he would have fought RDA before Dos Anjos got injured and had to pull out of the fight. But I mean, I definitely think it's one that would interest him. He would be able to stay at a little higher weight too, because I still kind of question if he actually comes down to fight Jose, especially since he can run away just always saying he beat him the first time and go there if he doesn't want to go down and wait.
Yeah, for sure. So just be interesting to see if Diaz wins. I can see it, happening right away, but probably just have to wait for sure with McGregor, since he had to fight Jose Aldo for the actual title, since he was named interim champion at UFC 200. So just be something interesting to see. I would definitely watch that for sure. Definitely.
Yeah.
Now up next, we have the girls that fought JJ, man, she had me nervous at first, man. It was so crazy because I was at the gym running while I was watching the fight, and like my heart was already beating fast as it is, and like I'm looking at JJ, like I was like having like irregular heartbeats and everything, and I was like, what are you doing? So what were your thoughts on that fight, man?
I mean, at first it was going like I thought it would go, but Claudia, her gas tank ran out. And I mean, she stated it in an earlier interview. She said if her cardio holds up, she can control her and out wrestle her. First and second round, that's what she did. When she could get that takedown and had the energy to work and hold it, JJ could not do anything with her.
Yeah.
But you could see that pendulum swing in the third round where Gedalia's hands started dropping. She started taking deep breaths. She couldn't get a good takedown and hold it. JJ started getting up a lot easier from them takedowns, and from there it was game over. She seemed to get better as the fight went on, while Claudia started free falling.
Yeah. Just speaking of third round, I think that was when JJ was her most active. I think she landed, I want to say 75 strikes.
Something like that.
Yeah, it was some just ridiculous with her output. But that just comes to show, if you want to do some dirty wrestling like Claudia did up in the ring, with those takedowns, you got to make sure, run those extra miles and stuff to make sure that conditioning is up. Because conditioning is just as important as talent when it comes to getting into that octagon. Definitely had her winning those first two rounds, but then she got gas. She couldn't be able to perform like she wanted to in rounds 3 and beyond. So that cost her a lot, was that conditioning, but just to great conditioning from JJ for her to have the ability to just rebound from those takedowns and stuff, because that takes a lot of energy and stuff too to try to defend those takedowns and stuff that Claudia was bringing to her. So just was able to just use that conditioning to get those strikes in and just get the championship belt back around her waist for another fight. So 12th straight win, I believe, for?
Yep.
Yeah, so she's amongst the top in the UFC with most wins, consecutive wins. So she's doing her thing.
Well, I mean, that's just overall in her career, but UFC, that's only her third or fourth straight win.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
But
either way,
I mean, she's undefeated. So, yeah. And she's I think right now she proved she's the best female fighter on the planet after that one.
Yeah, I think so too. She, pound for pound, I think she's the best with that performance. So, yeah. Who do you think is next in line to fight
her? That is a very good question. I don't know. Like, who else? Because I mean, Gedalia is the best matchup for her.
Exactly. Yeah.
She proved that just the gas tank isn't there. I just don't know who you put up next to try to do something with her. She's basically run over everybody else. I mean, she ran over Gedalia after the second round, but I mean, that was the one person that could deal with her. I mean, Claudia even got a knockdown, but you can't give her a third fight, so immediately at least. So I don't know. The UFC has a matchmaking conundrum to deal with there. Who do you put up against this mauler?
You think Paige?
That's the marketable fight?
Yeah.
I mean,
you think she's ready for it?
No. Yeah. But I mean, coming off Dancing with the Stars and everything like that, this is it's a bankable fight.
Yeah. For sure. So, just be interesting to see, like it's kind of having problems with Rousey, how she was dominating opponents earlier when she was consecutively just wrestling. She's taking a break right now, but now it's happening to JJ, so it'll just be interesting to see how they'll handle that. Up next, we have the 200 card. Very excited for this pay-per-view. Me and you both, we went up to B-Dubs to check it out. first fight we saw on the main card was Cain Velasquez versus Travis Brown. What were your thoughts on that? Looked like we saw Cain Velasquez, normal Cain Velasquez back.
I think we saw a little bit more than the normal Cain Velasquez. All I got to say is 2 spin kicks to the head.
It's true.
I mean, like, Cain was trying to show he's better than what he used to be. I mean, he looked like the Cain that we know, which is clearly the best heavyweight on the planet. So, he might have to do one more fight before he can get a title shot or something like that. But I'm excited now after seeing that. Travis Brown tried to hang in there as much as he could, but you could just see he was fighting somebody he had nothing for.
Yeah, there's different levels, exactly. It's those takedowns. He definitely looked confident in the ring. Just was ready to get that win. That was just good to see, especially how he looked against Verdum, and with all those injuries and stuff that's kind of held him back in his career. It was good to see. We have Miocic versus Overeem down the road. Whoever wins that, do you think he should get the title shot against whoever wins out of those two, or you think he needs one more guy? How he looked, I think he was ready, but for some reason, I think he have to fight another person.
I'm fine if you give it to him, but I would possibly like to see maybe him and Verdum.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Rematch and winner gets the title shot.
Yeah.
Because that would give Verdum a chance to get a win under his belt to get a rematch, and that would give Cain a chance to avenge that loss on his way to getting the title again. So I think that would be a pretty interesting setup. I mean, is how Cain looked. If you give him the next shot, I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah. Now I'm trying to think, what was the next fight that was after that one?
Would have been Jose and Frankie.
Yeah,
right?
That's right, Jose and Frankie. That's right, my boy, Jose. What did you think of that fight?
It was a really good fight. I mean, both guys came to fight, but Jose also was another guy that seemed like he got back to the Jose I know from like 6-7 years ago that, was fluid, kind of a defensive fighter, but still when he threw some strikes, it was with bad intentions. He seemed like as good as Frankie did not look bad. Frankie
good,
but Jose just seemed to be a little bit better, like beat him to the punch every time. So, Jose made me excited to possibly see a rematch between him and Conor. He gave me a little bit of hope that it would be a different result.
Yeah, same here. Only problem I have, I'm a huge Jose fan is that I would have loved to see him throw some more kicks. I just think he needs to stick with his bread and butter more, especially with a wrestler like Frankie Edgar. He can take guys down. I would have loved to see him.
I think that's why he didn't throw the kicks.
Well, yeah, too.
I don't think he wanted to get anything caught, so Frankie can just throw a trip.
Well, yeah, that's true. Definitely, yeah. Well, definitely, that was smart on his part too. But yeah, like with my kind of whole thing was just kind of just to get at that base when he can, if he's fighting defensively, to chop at that base so he can be a little bit more immobile and take out some of his legs and power to get those takedowns down. So that was just kind of the reasoning with my view behind it. But again, too, with him, a guy like Frankie, he can get to see those legs coming and get ready for the takedown too. So definitely see where you're coming from there. Now it's gonna be coming up for sure with Jose Aldo and McGregor. How do you see that going? You think he will be ready for that?
I mean, he knows he's going to have to bring a different game plan than what he brought last time. I don't know if it was overconfidence or he just got caught or what, but he's going to have to try to do something to deal with Conor's range. So I don't know if that's using his kicks more there because McGregor's not going to be one that goes for a double leg ever. He's going to stand and try to pick apart, find his shots. So Jose might have to use his legs to extend his range a little bit until he can get him staggering or limit his movement by chopping out one of those legs and go to work that way.
Yeah, I just think the key thing for him with his last fight with McGregor was I just think McGregor got into his head a lot with the trash talk. I just think he just needs to stay focused, listen to his trainers. I just think he got a little bit too anxious charging in like that in the first fight. So if he can mentally be prepared for a guy like McGregor, don't let him get into his head with all the trash talk and stuff, I think he'll be set. Now, what do you think is next for Frankie Edgar? Because this guy was on a winning streak and then he just lost to Jose Aldo. What do you think is next for him? Is there a guy that you would like to see him fight next?
I mean, I think he has a decision to make. Does he stay at featherweight? Does he try to go back up to lightweight? Does he possibly try to drop down another level? See if maybe he can get a fight with DJ, who seems to have cleaned out his division.
Oh, yeah, that would be interesting.
Yeah, because I think Frankie's capable of dropping another 10 pounds. Because I mean, he was a small lightweight. Then featherweight's probably an easy cut for him, but I think he might be able to take that extra 10 pounds to get down to have to deal with DJ.
Yeah.
Or so.
That would be a good fight between him and Mighty Mouse, man. That would be one I would check out for sure. You bringing that up, that would be one I would love to see. I think that would be good for him too. So just have to see. Now, up next we had the DC versus Anderson Silva fight. One thing was that it was supposed to be John Jones versus DC, but with the whole drug issue, finding some substance positive and for his drug test that really screwed up the fight between them happening. So might not never ever see the rematch between those again. We'll just have to see. It could be a 2-year suspension for John Jones. Just real quick before we get into that fight, what were your thoughts when you found that out about John Jones?
It was just like, what more can you mess up? I mean, like, I know probably the statement is going to be I took a supplement and it had something tainted in it, so that's why he popped, and it could be true, but it's just the line of mess ups that John Jones has had, from the DUI car accident a couple years ago, and then from the issue where he got suspended indefinitely from getting in a car accident, hitting a pregnant lady, going back for his cash and running off.
Yeah.
The cocaine issue. I just, like, can you just, like, he's that, like, his nickname should be just can't get right.
Right. Exactly.
So, like, how else can you mess up? This is about to be the biggest payday of your career. Yeah. UFC 200. Biggest card since UFC 100 possibly. Yeah. And you're fighting your rival. Paycheck built in. Both of you probably about to bring in at least $1 million off of the purses and buy rate.
Yeah.
But he pops and now is going to be out somewhere between 6 months to 2 years.
Yeah. I was, like, you texted me, and I thought you guys were, like, pulling some type of prank or something, man. I was just like, you can't be serious. Then to go on to ESPN, I see it popping up. I'm like, wow. And, you know, the thing that was just so frustrating for me, especially, you know, I gave this dude break after break after break. You told me about the cocaine issue. Oh, man, he'll be all right. Thought him hitting the pregnant lady. Oh, man, it's okay. You know, he'll bounce back from it. I just gave that dude break after break, and he pulled that off. This was just the fight that I wanted to see, and just boom, just didn't happen. So that was just very frustrating for me. Definitely just lost a whole lot of respect for him just out of that, man. You know, for him to put all his trainers and stuff like that, have them work that hard to train him and get ready to prepare for a fight, for him to get ready to face his rival, and then just, 3 days before the event to happen, this to just pop up. That was just like a huge slap to the face of a lot of people. So that really just pissed me off, man. I was just excited to see that, but did make up to it. My boy, my favorite fighter of all time, Anderson Silva, they replaced him with him, so that was just good to see. Silva versus DC, I was happy for that, but that was just a huge slap in the face for me, man. That was just a fight I just really wanted to see. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, you got to look at it like outside of just him constantly messing up. Like, you brought it up partially, but I mean, look at all the other people that had to suffer because of this.
Yeah.
His coaches and trainers, they lose that payday because they get a percentage of what he wins.
Yeah.
Cormier, he got his purse cut in half.
Wow. In half. Wow.
Yeah. Like, he was guaranteed $1 million off of the originally scheduled fight. Not that he's not making anything off of $500,000, of course. Yeah. I mean, I wish I had that, but I'm just saying, like, his purse gets cut in half, and then big on Silva for stepping up, but that still put DC in such a bad situation.
To go from, main event to third guy on the card.
And you're fighting what arguably the GOAT. You weren't training for him.
Yeah.
You have to fight a certain way to make sure you don't lose to him.
Exactly.
So, and I mean, it put DC in such a bad situation. His back was against like 3 walls.
Yeah. Let's just get right into that. Then when I found out Anderson Silva was going to fight DC, I did have Anderson Silva winning. My point of logic was just for a guy like DC to put all that effort into a fight for John Jones, and then to come find out, oh, well, guess what? He tested positive for a drug. You won't be able to fight him. And, he was talking about, oh, well, if I lose against John Jones, again, I'm basically dead.
Mm-hmm.
My whole thing was that I really thought that was going to play a huge role in just breaking him down just mentally for the fight. Because, as physical as a fight is, it's also mental too. So I just think physically he would have his abilities, but just mentally he wasn't going to be there. And then, oh yeah, let's fight a guy like, you're going to fight Anderson Silva. Like, okay, like, that's, you're training for a guy like John Jones, and then, oh, here's Anderson Silva for you instead. So I thought this would have been a good time for Anderson Silva to come in there and capitalize. A lot of people, they say, I'll be straight up, they thought, DC fought like a pussy, going out there doing the wrestling and stuff. But, at the end of the day, every fighter wants to go out there and win. If that's, Anderson Silva, he's a great striker, probably the greatest striker in the history of the UFC. But, at the end of the day, the dude wanted to win. He's a wrestler. He took Anderson Silva down, and he did what he had to do to get the W. So,
okay.
I can't blame him like that.
Okay, response now. Yeah. I know everybody tried to get on DC. Like I said, his back was against the wall. I mean, okay, I'm going to go logic first.
Yeah.
He got a brand new opponent on 48 hours notice, who's one of the greatest strikers of all time.
Yeah.
So why would he stand and give him a chance to catch him in the chin? Where everybody, like, even at his advanced age, if Anderson catches you right, you're going down.
Exactly.
But also, with him wrestling, I'm about to get nerdy as far as the grappling goes. Anderson was doing what's called a lockdown guard.
Yeah.
Where he basically pretzel locked one of DC's legs to make sure he couldn't pass his guard, and he basically had to stay in one position to hopefully be able to posture up and land some punches.
Yeah.
This was a stall tactic from Anderson to try to get the ref to stand the fight up.
That was true.
He wasn't actively going for triangles or arm bars or anything like that. He was trying to hold him so he could get a stand up. So if you want to say DC fought like a puss, then you have to say Anderson did too.
Yeah, okay, they
both did what they had to do to try to win the way they knew how to win.
Yeah,
Anderson knew it had to be standing, so he stalled on the ground, didn't allow himself to take any damage. He didn't put himself out there to try to get a submission. And DC knew if he kept it standing, that gave Anderson his best chance of winning. So he took him down and tried to maul.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, I'm just, telling how the people felt. At the end of the day, they weren't booing Silva, they were booing DC. So
sure. And that's part of the bad situation he got put in.
Yeah, exactly.
They put in a well-loved fighter fighting above his weight class to step in there. Everybody was hoping for that magic moment. The greatest of all time knocks out the light heavyweight champion. Didn't get the belt, but knocks him out at UFC 200. He cements himself as the greatest of all time. I think DC knew that that's what people were thinking. He's like, I'm not letting this happen. Exactly. I don't care if you boo me or whatever. I'm not letting this 40-year-old man knock me out.
Yeah, sure. Now with the boos and everything, people like Anderson Silva and whatnot, do you think a lot of people just hate DC or what?
It's weird. I mean,
or do you just think it because, he was going against John Jones that helped make a villain out of him too? Or what do you think?
No, I mean, it's just that rivalry it's just been as bad as it's been for Jones because of Jones. It's also been bad for Cormier.
Yeah.
People still try to call DC a paper champion. It's not really your belt. Jones is a real champion. Jones would still be the champion possibly if he didn't keep screwing up.
Yeah.
Do you expect somebody to not fight for a belt because the guy you think should be champion can't stay out of trouble?
Exactly.
I mean, DC is doing what he needs to do. He wants to fight John Jones. He hasn't backed down from a fight, but over the last year and a half, 2 years, Jones can't make it to a fight because he keeps getting in trouble.
Exactly.
But people that's just one of the problems with fandom. You can't see things logically. Fan is short for fanatic.
Yep.
And that blinds people. Sometimes you can't, you can't see the forest for the trees or whatever that statement is.
Yeah.
It puts DC in a bad situation. He hasn't done anything wrong. He's basically been one of the most professional champions in the UFC. He shows up for everything that's asked of him. He's never been in any kind of trouble. He's one of the most stand-up guys the UFC has.
True.
He does all of the Fox promotional work. He does analyst work for him. What more can you ask of this guy? Besides, he can't keep Jones clean. Do you want him to sleep at John Jones' house every night to keep him out of trouble so they can fight?
It seems like that's the only way, man. But
that's not his job. So sorry, fans, if you get mad, you need to start turning some of this anger at John Jones. That's the problem.
Yeah,
he's not the problem. He's beaten who's been put in front of him. He's tried to get Jones put back in front of him, but Jones can't seem to stay clean or stay out of trouble.
Yeah, very true. He can't control. All the people that's mad at him are mad at him because of stuff he can't control. Pretty much, it's just the way it has to be, I guess. But he's fought Anderson Silva. Who's the guy that you would like to see him fight next?
I believe there's a Teixeira Rumble match coming up. Probably the winner of that steps up.
I would like to see Rumble. I was just hopefully he can work on his conditioning and his ground game, because once Cormier was able to take him down in that fight, it was just got bad for him. That him just getting him tired, just grinding it out with him. It was just give him that work. So hopefully, I'm a huge Rumble fan too. Love that guy. Almost knocked him out up in that fight when they fought with the punches that he has, but he played it smart, started taking him down and stuff too. So that would be one I would like to see again. Just hopefully, Anthony Johnson, he just learns from the mistakes that he made in the previous fight. So,
yep, I would be locked in for that. I would like to see that fight again.
yeah.
Rumble's the only guy that's like had DC in trouble. I mean, yeah, DC lost to Jones, but he was never in any danger of being stopped.
Yeah.
Rumble almost put him down.
Yeah, exactly. Now, up next, Brock Lesnar, he did his thing against Mark Hunt. What did you think of that fight?
I mean, the fight went how it was going to go. It was only going to go one of two ways. That was going to be Lesnar dominating it on the ground or Hunt landing one of his famous walk-off knockouts.
Yeah.
And Brock did what he needed to do. He stayed out of range, looked for his ways in there to get a takedown. He did that. They both beat each other up. They both took some heavy shots. So, I guess the bottom line of it for me, it kind of makes me wonder really how deep is the heavyweight division.
Yeah, true. Because I was just looking at that. I was like, I really thought Brock was going to get it just with all that rust and stuff, and he just came in there just taking them down whenever it pretty much felt like it. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
Against a guy like Mark Hunt who can end a fight just like that. So.
Yeah, I mean, Lesnar is a one-of-a-kind athlete.
True,
to be that big and that fast and that athletic, it's amazing.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to come in off a 5-year hiatus and beat the 8th-ranked heavyweight in the organization. So, I mean, 5 years away, not training MMA consistently, he beat a top 10 heavyweight, a top 8 heavyweight. So, I mean, that just, like, it makes you wonder, is it just Miocic, Verdum, JDS, Kane, and basically everybody else after that?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I mean, the heavyweight is usually kind of watered down compared to everybody else, but when you let somebody that's almost 40 come in after being away for 5 years and just come in pretty much work one of your top 10 guys, that's something to look at there.
Yeah. Hey, maybe that WWE isn't so fake after all, man.
Well, I mean, like I always say, scripted.
Yeah, very
they take
true.
the falls, they take some hits, but the outcome is predetermined. But nobody can deny Brock Lesnar is just a one-of-a-kind athlete. This does not mean that you should go put money on CM Punk, though.
Yeah.
Let's say that.
That'll be one to see for sure. Now, this was a fight that Brock won comfortably. We kind of talked about it last week. Could he possibly fight more? He won that fight pretty comfortably. Can you see him fighting someone else pretty soon, like in about a year or so, or what?
I mean, maybe in another year or so, like another big summer card or something like that where they need a boost. Maybe Vince might allow him out for another fight. But I mean, he doesn't have to. I think he proved his point. He wanted to get that sour taste out of his mouth of getting just destroyed by Overeem before he left. I mean, it does kind of make you wonder, just like if he didn't have that diverticulitis issue, would he have been a better champion? Could he have gotten a title back or whatever else?
Yeah.
I mean, it does put some questions up there, but I'm just impressed that he did so well off of that much time. It just makes me respect his athleticism that much more.
Yeah, so be interesting to see, man. Maybe he'll fight Cain Velasquez in his next match.
I don't think
just throwing it out, man. Maybe.
Well, maybe he might get hurt.
Oh man. Now last but not least, we're gonna talk about the ladies. Miesha Tate. I think we both had her winning, but she got the L, man. That was first of all, just huge respect for the ladies. You know, a lot of people that was kind of upset. Why should the women be fighting? I was kind of, I looked at that division about a year or two ago well, I say about a year ago, I was like, that division is just weak, man. People just letting, Rousey just do whatever. And, those girls really just brought it, that night, man. Misha just, got knocked out, man. It was just a good fight, but yeah, it ended quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was that perfect storm, that went very well for Amanda Nunes and very bad for Misha Tate.
Yeah.
Tate is a historically slow starter. She gets better as a fight goes on.
Yeah.
And Amanda Nunes she's a Vitor Belfort type that really gives a strong flurry in that first, maybe second round and starts to fade after that.
Yeah.
And I thought, Tate is tough. I haven't seen her stop via punches ever. She wasn't stopped via punches in this fight, but that's what led to the submission.
Yep.
I've never seen her in that bad of a way.
Choke out, not a knockout.
Yeah. I've never seen her in that bad away from punches, and I know Kat Zingano basically got a stoppage, but I think it was a terrible one, so I kind of don't even really count it.
Yeah.
But usually she deals with some punches and gets better as the fight starts, but Nunes was not having it. She landed some major shots, and then you could see Misha Tate just basically losing all of her fight, and then she dropped, and Nunes took her back and choked her out.
Yeah, just kind of just funny too. She choked out Holly Holm just like that. Then
yep.
Soon after, it just happened right to her from Nunes. So definitely, just shout out again to them, just putting up a great fight. And one thing I heard from Dana White after is that if Rousey wants to return, she can get the rematch for the title instantly. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't really like it.
Yeah.
Especially now since the title has changed hands twice since she lost it.
Yeah.
I think she should have to fight some other contender. If give her a number one contender fight. If Holm wins her fight in 10 days, make Rousey Holm too. You beat her, you get a shot at the title. Or give Juliana Pena, who fought earlier in the 200 card. She looks like she might be ready for that next level after what she did to Kat Zingano.
Yeah.
I know Rousey had a long and dominant run as a champion, and I'm pretty sure she wants to try to erase that bad knockout she took against Holly Holm, but I don't think just trying to shove the title back on her is the right move, especially since the person that beat her doesn't even have the belt anymore.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I just think that if anything, that'll just be a money draw issue. But, if Rousey, how she fought Holm, if it would have been a closer fight, I could see, but, Holmes was just bringing it to her the whole time. So, just knocked her out. So I don't think, with how she looked in that fight, for her to just get a title shot right after, I think that would just be bad, for her. I think she would need to just test herself first, just to make sure that she's ready. Because like you said, the title belt's changed twice since she decided to take some time off. So I just don't think that would be right for her to go in there after suffering like an embarrassing defeat like that to Holm and then get into a ring to fight for a championship that she might not even possibly be ready for. So I just like to see her fight somebody else before that happens, but we'll just have to see. Now, as we saw the card, do you think 200 was better than 100?
Only on paper.
Yeah, same here. I was telling you before that each fight on the 200 main card could possibly come short because with knockouts and stuff. Like everybody just had the ability on the card to just come and just end the fights early, but only saw two fights come early. That was with Kane and Nunes. So this would have loved to see a little bit more action. Still was a pretty good card, don't get me wrong. But with John Jones getting in trouble and getting out there too. I think that had a huge effect on it as well. So on paper, absolutely, but yeah, I still think 100 beat it.
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of the same reasons. I mean, not that I'm like I don't hate decisions or anything like that, but it's just the fights. Well, I think Jones took a lot of the air out of the card.
Yeah,
what happened with him. So I think that lowered some expectations anyway.
Yeah.
But just some of the cards, some of the fights just didn't quite live up to what you wanted. Like I was happy with Edgar Aldo, though I expected a little bit more of a slugfest. You know, I thought we would get a stoppage out of Lesnar and Hunt, but we didn't.
Yeah.
I expected one way or the other, either by a standing knockout from Hunt or something on the ground where Lesnar would pound out Hunt.
Yep.
But we didn't get it. Good fights, though. Still good fights. Even the undercard, there was some good fights. Hendricks and Gastelum was a good little fight. TJ Dillashaw looked awesome. Joe Lozon got himself a knockout on Diego Sanchez. But it just wasn't enough in that card to make me say it was better than 100.
Yeah, definitely agree. Now, the UFC just announced this week that it has been sold. It's part of the people that have took forth in buying the UFC talent giant WME IMG. And it's also been backed by private equity heavyweight Silver Lake, Colbert, Kravis Roberts, and an investment firm by billionaire Michael Dell, owner of Dell. So it's been purchased for $4 billion. What were your thoughts on that when you found out? Do you think it was a good deal?
I mean, I guess we'll know it's good when we see if there's any improvement or some more draw to it. I mean, it could be better for the fighters. So this is a talent agency, so if any of the fighters are looking to do more than just fight, you know, trying to get on TV or modeling or whatever else, this company will be able to help with that.
Especially, that could help bring in more money too with that Reebok deal and stuff. So,
or getting out of that Reebok.
True.
But yeah, I mean, so that could be good for the fighters in that way. Just from the little stuff I've heard, it seems like they're looking more into trying to expand into other mediums to try to get more of a global footprint for the UFC. I mean, of course, they do go overseas a couple times a year, whether it's Japan or Ireland. They've been to Switzerland for cards, but I think they want to try to get that footprint a little more sturdy worldwide to see if they can find more revenue streams for the UFC, which I assume they're going to have to do since they spent $4 billion on the company.
Yeah.
Pay-per-view is probably a dying breed. I mean, it's only so much you're going to be able to do to keep people paying $60 for a pay-per-view. So they're probably going to have to find other avenues. Probably going to copy off the WWE model a little bit more like they've been doing, trying to beef up the UFC streaming service, expand that, and like I said, try to get their fighters more visible by putting them in TV, whether it's shows or movies or whatnot.
Yeah, I can agree with what you were saying there. My whole problem with it is one thing that would have caused me to want to pay a little less than $4 billion was the whole Muhammad Ali Act. If they could somehow get that to where it could benefit the MMA fighters, like it's benefited the boxers, I think that would hurt the UFC like crazy. I think they will lose a lot of money since they could fighters to go to Bellator or whatever to promote themselves and put up a fight. So that's right now currently, it's worth that much of what they're doing, but just the potential fear of Congress getting together and saying, okay, this Muhammad Ali Act, this goes to the MMA fighters as well. They could be losing out on a lot of talent that consistently works for the company. So that would just kind of be my little deal breaker out of the $4 billion going to the UFC. I just think that Muhammad Ali Act could really hurt that company for sure.
Oh yeah, totally agree. I mean, it can make things really hard. But I mean, in and of itself, I mean, this may be something that the company has in mind already. I would think somebody would have to tell them this could be something coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
But it may be something they have to look at anyway, because from what I've read and listened to, it looks like they already do represent a couple of UFC fighters.
Oh, okay.
I believe like Ronda Rousey's one. Not sure who else, but it's a conflict of interest. So, like, you could kind of question in the future, are certain fighters getting fights because they may have a movie coming out soon, or they're trying to get them a role in something, or is there favoritism? So they might have to do some of that distancing from fighters anyway, because of the Ali Act and because of the possible conflict of interest that they have on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you have any thoughts or anything else to say on the UFC, man, before we move on?
I mean, it's amazing. I believe the Fertitta brothers bought the company for $2 or $3 million.
Wow.
And now they just sold it for $4 billion.
Yeah, that's
a hell of a turnaround.
Exactly. So that's great for them, man. That's just good to see. Just like to see how this product will continue to be great down the road, or if it will slip. So just have to wait and see. Now, up next, we had some crazy stuff going on this last week. In this country, United States, with all these shootings and killings and stuff going on. We had athletes speaking out. One about Carmelo. He would like athletes to be more vocal. And we were at UFC. Brock Lesnar, he had some speech at the end of his fight to say about the police and things like that. And then even Jabari, I believe it was Jabari Parker, he wrote something on there talking about one of the guys that said something about Obama, and he was talking about, they wasn't going to allow him to put a finger on him or something like that. So just what are your thoughts on these athletes, speaking politically? Do you think they should be willing to do it? They should definitely be forced to do it, or what?
I don't think anybody should be forced to do it. Yeah. But if you feel moved to do it, I'm fine with it. My one thing is just please know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And I mean, I haven't had any issue with anybody's statements as of late. Carmelo's full page article that he took out, I didn't see anything super controversial with it. And Lesnar, it scared me at first when he was starting to say something, but
you always got to be careful with Lesnar sometimes.
Exactly. As soon as he said, "This is a white boy," I was like, "Oh God, what is he about to say?" Yeah. But I mean, he basically just kind of said, "Everybody, we need to get along and love each other." So, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, that's pretty vanilla what he said. But as far as speaking politically, as far as athletes go, it's not like it's a new thing. I mean,
sure.
Jim Brown did it. Muhammad Ali did it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yeah. So, I mean, there's precedent for it.
Yeah.
And these guys have a huge platform. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, Trey, but even tonight, to open up the ESPYs, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Paul, and I think it was Melo. They did a little statement about stopping the violence.
Okay.
So, I mean, they know they have a huge voice, especially in this time of social media and stuff like that. You have millions of followers listening to stuff that you say. I mean, them saying a couple words is, like I said, as long as they know what they're talking about and it's coming from a place of intelligence, not anger or unintelligence.
Yeah, bigotry or anything like that.
Yeah. If you're trying to change things for the better, in your opinion, I'm not going to say I always am going to agree with what these players say.
Yeah.
But if you have something on your heart and you're saying it and you're not speaking like a jackass,
yeah,
I'm good with it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not really nothing much I can add to that. You basically, just said it, just, absolutely shouldn't be forced to speak their mind or anything like that. Just, come from the heart, make sure you're respectful, things like that, and know what you're talking about. That's the key thing. There's been a lot of people out there, people think, oh, this guy makes millions of dollars. He should definitely speak. But when you hear the words come out their mouth, they're like, okay, this dude needs to shut the hell up. So it's, yeah, exactly. So it's just, it's good to see, people, fans. You have a lot of people that buy these guys' jerseys and stuff like that. It's good to see that, they can take some time out their day, to speak, for the people out there that's really getting hurt or anything like that. So that's good for sure.
Well, and I mean, what you just said, like, you also got to think some of these guys are risking them jersey sales by speaking out, because it goes back to, I mean, people didn't agree with it, but I mean, it goes back to what Jordan said when people asked him to speak on issues. He was like, look, Democrats and Republicans buy shoes. Yeah. So, I mean, I get it both ways. Some people, they don't want to be in that kind of a limelight. I would rather athletes do use their platform if they feel a certain way about an issue. But I mean, I also understand when they're looking at what they have for themselves, they got to look out for themselves and their families too. So I'm not going to hate that.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Now, up next, some NBA, Tim Duncan, man, he just announced his retirement just disappeared, man. Just out of nowhere, kind of. To me, it was, at least. I thought he would give it, one more year. But he didn't. He just announced retirement. He's accomplished a lot. I think he's the greatest power forward of all time. What did you think when you heard the news?
I mean, I wasn't shocked. Tim Duncan he never struck me as a player that, like, needed to stick around for some reason. I mean, he's definitely decorated. I mean, the only person that's arguable to be a better player than him over his time period is Kobe. Of his generation. So, I mean, and like I said, that's a good argument anybody can have. I'm not going to hate whichever side somebody wants to take there. So, I mean, he's definitely accomplished enough to where he can walk out and feel fine about everything he's done in his career. I mean, what I saw, the Spurs had a 71% win percentage through his career.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
The highest of any team of any sport during the tenure of their star player. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of a mic drop in itself. Like, what can you say? We win 3 out of 4 games, basically.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just definitely, like I said, the has the right to retire, everything. I just thought he would stick with it 1 year, but one thing, I kind of like the guys that are kind of douchebags, the talkative guys and stuff like that, like to talk trash and stuff. One thing I did respect about him, he was a quiet guy. He always just went out there and just handled his business, didn't need a jaw off or anything like that. Might give the referee a crazy look every now and then if they call it a stupid foul, but, definitely you can see the passion that he played with, just with how his actions on the court, just kept it simple, went out there, man, just played his game. And, that his game probably, caused him to be the greatest power forward of all time, you can say. So, it's a pleasure to watch him, man. It was just crazy because just like huge Kobe fan, he was a huge part of me growing up watching basketball. Tim Duncan too. These guys are getting ready to go. So it's like, I got, KG and like Dirk left pretty much out of the big name players. So it's like guys that I like grew up watching, man, they're starting to get ready to leave, man. So it's just interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I know the feeling. That's just like when I was about your age when, Jordan was hanging it up and Pippen was going, Drexler, Barkley, all those types. So, I mean, it's just the nature of the game. But like you said, I mean, Duncan, if you want to label him a power forward, he's the best ever. If you want to label him as a center, he's probably top 5.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, the big fundamental, as he's known.
Yeah.
I mean, great defender, efficient offensive player, was able to adapt his game through a defensive NBA onto the higher scoring NBA that we have now.
Yeah.
He's always been a staple of the game. And, I mean, was a great player up until basically last year. So, great career. Surefire first ballot Hall of Famer.
Definitely.
Gonna miss seeing him on the court.
For sure. Now, after, with Tim Duncan, I got news today that, Westbrook, could possibly be going to the Celtics. What do you think about that?
All I could wonder is, will he re-sign with them if he goes to them? I mean,
yeah, I think that'd be a big risk for Boston if they could get that trade in, because Boston just doesn't really seem like a place for Westbrook. It's absolutely historic place, greatest franchise in NBA history, but Westbrook and Boston, it just don't sound like those two just mixed. It doesn't sound like he would like that place a lot for me. So,
well, I mean, there's some things that look good there. Young team, young coach. I don't know how Boston's fashion life is, since it seems like that's one of the things he's getting into.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's not far from New York.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah.
So he could get over to do that kind of stuff, and Boston's an up and coming team.
Yeah, they've improved a lot since last year. So it's just yeah.
I mean, I would assume Isaiah Thomas would be part of that trade.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma City would be getting a pretty good point guard back.
Yeah.
But I mean, if Boston could do that without giving out too many assets outside of him, I mean, it's a good move. But like I said, it's just the fact that can you get a promise that you will get a new contract out of it, because that's going to be the only thing holding up any team get Russ, because I mean, he's on the last year of his deal, so some team is going to want something in writing that he will re-sign with that team or do an extension immediately or something like that. But I can also see from OKC's point of view, if he's clearly told them he's probably not coming back, they need to try to get a move so they get something.
Yeah, regardless. So the risk will be on the other teams that's getting Westbrook, not on OKC. Really, if he told them that, as long as they get some good players or draft picks and stuff in return, I think they would be pretty happy. But knowing that Westbrook could possibly, you can only have him for a year and then he could go somewhere else, that'd be a big risk on other teams. So
because there's only about 3 teams I think that could get that guarantee out of him, and 2 of them are in LA and 1 of them's in New York. So
yeah, exactly. Now up next, we also heard today Adam Silver, he made comments on the whole Durant going to Golden State. That issue, he wasn't really pleased with it. He think that the whole thought of players just making super teams and stuff, that just plays a huge role in hurting the NBA product with other teams not being able to perform well and stuff like that. So, what were your thoughts on Adam Silver's comments?
I don't know if I believe him, honestly.
Really?
I think it's a little bit placating of angry fans, angry Oklahoma City fans.
Yeah.
I mean, I just go back, just look at recent history. Did the NBA blow up after the Celtics got made?
Yeah.
Did it blow up after the Heat got made? And it's not going to blow up after this team here. You'll find ways to compete. You might even get a team to beat Golden State. You know, the Heat lost that first year to the Mavericks.
Yeah.
You can't guarantee that super team is going to win. The Boston Celtics didn't.
Took them a little bit to get a championship. So.
What? Yeah, was it the second year or the first year they won?
I think it was the second.
So I thought they won the first and lost to LA.
Was it their first year? Might have. I have to look and check.
But either way, I'm just saying, like, yeah, it makes less competitive teams when great players team up like that. But I mean, honestly, it might just mean there's too many teams in the NBA for the talent that you have. Like, what do you want? You got people getting mad about okay players making crazy amounts of money, yet then they also get mad about the great players going to win rings, which analysts and fans don't want to give players credit unless they win rings. So, you know, it's all about the culture of how these players are looked at, and just it's the way of the NBA. It's how teams are being built. It's being done a different way, but how many teams have won championships without at least two superstars on them?
Yeah.
Like, I can only think of two in recent history, and that's Detroit and Dallas.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just interesting. You know, a lot of people, they're going to get angry when all these guys, one of the top players that have been sticking with their organization for quite a while, decided to leave and go to another team and make that super team, as they say. So, the fans and stuff are mad at it. You know, I gave my whole thing on Durant. You know, I had no problem at all with him leaving. I just think that was kind of a little, you know, bad for him to go to a team that, he could have ended up beating for the to go to the finals last, season. So, but, you know, at the end of the day, guess what? It's free agency. He's allowed to do that. So, they will have to make some rules for them to not do that in free agency. But at the end of the day, he was legally obligated to do that. So he did nothing wrong.
And I want to hear what Adam Silver says when he sees the ratings next year.
Very true. Yeah, because that, you know, people thought they were watched this last season. They're going to be watched like crazy next year. So it's, yeah, going to be helping bringing money into his pocket. So he's going to be down for that for sure. Yeah. Now, anything else you'd like to add, man?
Nah. Outside, I'm looking forward to seeing how the super team works out next year.
Yeah, the same here, man. Like I said, I'm going to be checking out some NCAA basketball for sure. But this is kind of how NBA season kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. But, you know, be interested to see how that team performs and everything like that, and who will be able to challenge them for sure. So, definitely. People just tuning in, thank you all for listening. Feel free to check us out on SoundCloud, YouTube, Stitcher, Tunein, Google Play. I think I said them all. Did I say iTunes?
Everywhere.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Like, just type in "Don't Kill the Messengers" podcast. You should be able to find a link to it somewhere. So, just look for us. Check us out on Twitter at DKM_cast. And you can also send us email and stuff like that at dkmcast@gmail.com. So, be good to hear from you guys.
Or you can hit up myself at s_do228, or Tyler, our missing cohort, at T-Coin. Yeah.
This went pretty smooth, man. I might have to get rid of his ass, man. For sure. But yeah, man. Yeah, just thanks for listening, everybody.